What's up, fam? It's me. I'm back. And I hope everybody's doing well. I hope everybody's stay safe, and I hope everybody's being smart. But the reason why I'm coming to you again today is because, first of all, I have time, and it's good to have time. And we have missed out on so much that I'm trying to get caught up with y'all. And two, there's some other stuff going on in Rochester with the Rochester Police Department that I think y'all need to know about. But first and foremost, old Biden is at it again. Yes, Biden is at it again. And y'all need to know his actions as of yesterday, okay? So that's where we're going to go first. We're going to go first, and we're going to talk about Jim Crow Joe and what he's up to. And I'm going to do a little reminding. I'm going to play a little something to remind y'all of something that Biden said right before he took office. And we're going to compare what he said then to what he's actually doing now and has been doing since his first day, since January the 20th, 2021. Okay? So, let's get right on into this. Okay? This is out of NBCnews.com, and it was February the 2nd, 2021. It was yesterday. 5:00 a.m. By Dartunora Clark and Julia Ansley. So these are political analysts and reporters for NBC News. And this is what it says. President Joe Biden signed 3 major executive orders Tuesday. So this is 3 more executive orders that he has signed. Now he has already, in his first week, he has already done, I think it was like somewhere between 40 and 45 executive orders and memorandums and things of that nature. Now, yesterday, he signed 3 more major executive orders. So let's talk about what those executive orders are on, okay? President Joe Biden signed 3 major executive orders Tuesday aimed at reversing former President Donald Trump's hardline immigration practices. So all 3 of these major executive orders were about immigration, right? And he'll make it clear as we read on the particular immigrants that he's talking about. Because he's not talking about legal immigrants, okay? Let's go. One executive order will create a task force to reunite children who were separated from their parents under Trump's zero-tolerance policy, which an administration official called a moral failing. So now we're supposed to get into morals. Now we're supposed to believe all of a sudden that the Democrats are moral and that they're interested in morality. The task force will be chaired by the Homeland Security Secretary. Okay, so let's go over here and see who's the Secretary of Homeland Security. Of course it's going to be chaired by this Latino dude. Alejandro Mayorkas. Yeah, Alejandro Mayorkas. The Senate confirms Alejandro Mayorkas as America's first Latino Homeland Security Chief. So this Latino dude, this brand new first Latino Homeland Security Chief, is going to be the chairperson for this task force. This task force that's set to reunite these children, okay? President Trump was so focused on the wall, he did nothing to address the root causes of why people are coming to our southern border. It was a limited, wasteful, and naive strategy, and it failed, a senior administration official said. People continue to migrate to the United States, even today, because of it. President Biden's approach is to deal with immigration comprehensively, fairly, and humanely. Okay, now what I want you to understand is, he's sitting behind a desk in the White House and signed this executive order about illegal children that didn't have any business being here on Tuesday, when Friday an American citizen's child, a black American citizen's child, a black child that was born here, that was raised here, that's a citizen here, was viciously and brutally attacked, handcuffed, and pepper sprayed by white police officers. So while the black community is reeling over that, Joe Biden, who's supposed to have the African Americans' backs, was sitting in the White House signing executive orders about illegal children, about children that are not even citizens here, children that were not born here, children that were brought here illegally by their parents or by their guardians or smuggled in here by traffickers or whatever. So just get the irony of that and get the message that he's sending to you, black folks. I don't care what's happening with your children in the streets. I don't care that your children are being brutalized by police. I care about the illegal children that are detained at the border and them being separated from their parents. I don't care anything about these black children, these black American children being separated or traumatized or whatever from their families. Because remember, this little girl was calling for her dad. She just kept calling and crying for her dad, because she did not want to be separated from her dad. So just get the irony of that and get the message clearly that he's sending to the black community. That's not my concern. I'm not worried about that. Whatever happened to that little black girl, that's what happened. Because you notice, still no word from the White House, no word from the administration, no word from Biden, no word from Harris about anything that transpired with that little girl being pepper sprayed. We ain't even heard so much as, oh, it was shameful. Oh, it was disturbing. We ain't even heard, at least with Donald Trump, we heard every once in a while, oh, it was disturbing. It was sad. We ain't even heard that from the Biden administration about what was done to this little 9-year-old black child. But while all this is going on in Rochester, he's sitting in the Oval Office signing executive orders for illegal children. Okay, I just wanted to remind y'all of that. After signing the orders in the White House on Tuesday, Biden told reporters he is not creating new law, but eliminating bad policy. He did not take questions. During his presidential campaign, Biden ran ads promising to establish such a task force on his first day as president. The new executive action is not explicitly clear about which migrant families will and will not be eligible for reunification. The senior administration officials said the task force will be responsible for identifying all minor children that were separated from their parents or legal guardians at the U.S.-Mexico border due to Trump's zero tolerance policy. So he's letting you know where his concern is. His concern is not just with immigrants in general. His concern is specifically with that U.S.-Mexico border. Hispanics. So let's go on down here, because I'm not going to read all of this. The executive action does not address whether parents who have been deported will be given special protections to come back to the United States to reunite with their children. Okay, let's see what this second one is about. Because there are three. The official said the second executive action would evaluate legal immigration programs such as the Central American Minors Program, which began under President Barack Obama. So if you've heard anybody saying that Joe Biden was Barack Obama 2.0, or this is just a continuation of President Barack Obama's administration, pretty much it's just the Obama administration on steroids. And we know how anti-black the Obama administration was. We already know that. That program allowed certain children from the region to lawfully unite with family members in the U.S. Trump terminated it in 2017, which the administration official said left thousands in limbo. The order would also review the Trump administration's Remain in Mexico policy, which has left tens of thousands of asylum seekers, most of them Central American, living in poor conditions in northern Mexico as they await court hearings to make their case for protection in the U.S. And at this point, I'm kind of like, Tariq, why y'all keep fleeing? Why y'all keep running from your countries? You run from your countries, you flee your countries because you claim that the conditions are so bad and the treatment is so bad and all of that. And then you get over here, and time you get over here and get established a little bit, you all of a sudden want to start flying your homeland's flag, and you want to start flying the flag of the country that you just fleed from. All of a sudden you want to try to boost up the culture of that country that you just fleed from. And if it's so wonderful, and if the culture is so great, and if the flag was so great that you got to keep flying it, and you got to keep harping on it, and you got to keep identifying with that, then why don't you go on back over there? Why did you flee and come here? If it's so wonderful, and then you can come over here, and once you get over here, and once you get a leg up a little bit, and the government doing assisted you and then helped you with all of this and gave you all kinds of grants and all kinds of loans and all kinds of benefits and all of that, then you want to get over here and you want to be better than the black Americans that were already here that founded this thing and started this whole thing and actually pushed for immigration back in the 60s so that the majority of you could get over here. The third executive action will direct the State Department, the Justice Department, and the Department of Homeland Security to review guidelines and policies implemented under Trump to determine whether they are in line with the government's desire to promote integration and inclusion. That's the same language they used with us back in the 60s during the civil rights movement. Integration and inclusion. Same language they use with us. So they making it clear that these folks are the replacement for us. They using the same language. They using the State Department, the Justice Department. They didn't have a Department of Homeland Security back then in the 60s. But they're using a lot of the departments and the agencies for them that they used for us back in the 60s during the civil rights movement. So everything that they used for us in the 60s, they are now using for the illegal immigrants in the 200s, in the 2000s. And they getting all the benefits as well. Why? Because they are here to replace us. Especially as a voting bloc. They are here to replace us as the labor force and as a voting bloc. That's the reason why Biden told the civil rights leaders that we were going to have to learn. We had to learn. It wasn't no suggestion. It was basically an order, a command. You're going to have to learn how to deal with and how to work with the Hispanics, the Latinos. It will also start a review of the policy known as public charge, which punishes legal immigrants who use public benefits by hurting their chances to receive green cards. Although immigration advocates have called for an immediate undoing of the actions, the Biden administration is reviewing the policies in the near term. It will also call for a review of the neutralization process. We want to put in place an immigration process here that can. Now I'm reading it exactly like it's written. So I'm assuming I'm reading it exactly like she's saying it. We want to put in place an immigration process here that can, that is humane, that is moral, that considers applications for refugees, applications for people to come into this country at the border in a way that treats people as human beings. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki said Tuesday. That's going to take some time. It's not going to happen overnight. So these are the three major executive orders that he signed yesterday. And the brunt of it, the major one, is concerning this reuniting these children with their families and all of these children that were detained at the border and all of that, and getting these families reunited and all that. I have no problem with that. That within itself, I have no problem with. But like I said, this is the same man that stood on the night that supposedly he won the election and told black folks, y'all the reason why we here, and I'm going to have black folks back like black folks had my back. But just 4 days before you did all of this signing, a little black child was brutalized by the police and you ain't said a word. And there's still no executive order for Foundation of Black Americans. Still no executive order to deal with the white supremacy, the racism, all of that we have to deal with and that we are victimized with every single day in this country and have been for almost 500 years. So again, the irony that he would sign these particular executive orders in the face of what happened to that little black girl in Rochester. Okay? Now, I want to remind y'all of something as far as all of these executive orders are concerned. Okay? Let me remind you of something that Joe Biden said about 2 months ago. About two and a half months ago, that Joe Biden said as far as all of these executive orders are concerned. Okay? Now, this comes from The Intercept. And yeah, this is the recording, a snippet of this Zoom meeting that Trump had with all of these so-called civil rights leaders. Al Sharpton was there. I'm just trying to find a list of names. That Cedric Richardson dude was there. Like I said, Al Sharpton was there. NAACP President Derek Johnson was there. The black woman Shirley Sherrod that was fired by Obama, she was there. So let's listen to a little bit of this, okay? Let's listen to this.
An airing of, if not
3 times that of white people. I don't carry around a stamp on my head saying progressive and I'm AOC, but I have more of a record of getting things done in the United States Congress than anybody you know. Anybody you know.
Some Biden cringe.
By 2040, this country is going to be minority white European. Hear me? Minority white European. And you guys are going to have to start working more with Hispanics who make up a large and any.
Now there he go. You guys are gonna have to start. You guys gonna have to start working more with Hispanics.
Anybody you know.
Some Biden cringe.
By 2040, this country is going to be minority white European. You hear me? Minority white European. And you guys are going to have to start working more with Hispanics, who make up a larger portion of the population than y'all do.
And some Biden temper.
Let's get some.
And you see how he emphasized that. And they make up more of the population than y'all do. You're going to have to start working with Hispanics. Okay? Now, let's get on to what Mr. Biden had to say about the executive orders back during this meeting with the black civil rights leaders. Let's see what he had to say about the signing of executive orders. Okay? Just listen carefully.
Straight. You shouldn't be disappointed. What I've done so far is more than anybody else has done this far. Okay? Number one. Number two, I mean what I say when I say it.
But it was also a space for an airing of, if not grievances, at least slight disappointments, and a forum for civil rights leaders to lobby Biden on everything from personnel to executive action to legislation. Many of those in the meeting urged Biden to be aggressive in his use of executive power.
I want to ask that you consider issuing an executive order to create a national task force to examine challenges to our democracy, a national voter access commission.
It's going to be important, for example, that one of your first actions is a reversal of the executive order that President Trump promulgated that essentially seeks to gag conversations about diversity, race, and history among anyone who contracts with the federal government. And so we would ask you to lend your voice and your strength and your influence and your power and your ability to reach across the aisle to try and pass the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. But failing that, we would ask you to pull from that act measures that can be enacted by executive order. You have the power to call for a national database on police misconduct. You have the power to ask for a registry that will allow people to easily search in public multiple misconduct complaints against particular officers. You have the ability to impose a database around police killings and police shootings. And these are things that you can do by executive order. There is a prison tragedy that is unfolding because of COVID. I encourage you to use your power to order an investigation of state and local prisons and jails to find out precisely what is happening, and you have that power through the Department of Justice.
And here's Al Sharpton.
We don't care about throwing fists in the air and the symbols. We want the substance. The Joe Biden I've known is substance. The Kamala Harris I've known is substance. We need it now more than ever. And I would hope that the first day you start doing the things with your executive orders to restore some dignity to law enforcement in our community and to voting.
Biden, in fact, has an enormous amount of power as president. 2 episodes ago, we devoted an entire show to just that. Turns out that Biden does not appear to be a deconstructed subscriber. Here's how he responded to those calls.
There's some things that I'm going to be able to do by executive order. I'm not going to hesitate to do it. But what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to do what used to, Benita, you probably used to get angry with me during the debates, when you'd have some of the people you were supporting say, on day one, I'm going to executive order to do this. Not within the constitutional authority. I am not going to violate the Constitution. There is a Constitution. It's our only hope. Our only hope. And the way to deal with it is where I have executive authority, I will use it to undo every single damn thing this guy has done by executive authority. But I'm not going to exercise executive authority where it's questioned, where I can come along and say, I can do away with assault weapons. There's no executive authority to do away with that. And no one's fought harder to get rid of assault weapons than me. Me. But you can't do it by executive order. If you do that, next guy comes along and says, well, guess what? By executive order, I'm going to say everybody can own machine guns again. So we got to be careful. I know you all know this. I know you know it. and poor Kamala's heard me say this, and so has Cedric.
So there it is. This is all the stuff that he told the black civil rights, and all they were talking about was doing things as far as police brutality is concerned, as far as policing is concerned, as far as this national registry and the national database and all of this kind of stuff. And he went into this tangent about he wasn't going to do all of this executive order stuff because it was unconstitutional, because we have a constitution. And he wasn't going to touch the constitutional authority with all of these executive orders and all of that kind of stuff. But on day one, he started with executive orders that had to do with everybody but black folks, that had to do with every agenda but the black agenda, that had to do with all the issues of other groups except our issues. Because our main issue is police brutality. That is one of our main issues, police brutality, the murdering and the killing of innocent black people in the streets of America. That's one of our main issues. But this is what he told the black so-called civil rights leaders when it came to them telling him that he had this power with these executive orders. And he has shown them in the last week and a half, ever since January the 20th, he has shown them, yeah, I got the power, and yeah, I can do these executive orders, but I ain't doing none for you. I ain't doing none to address your black issues. I'm certainly not going to do any to address anything that has to do with policing or punishing the police or keeping track of the police or holding the police accountable for anything. And this ain't me talking. This is not me talking. You heard Joe Biden saying this with your own ears. Let me play it for you again.
The executive order that President Trump promulgated.
I say it.
But it was also a space for an airing of, if not grievances, at least slight disappointments, and a forum for civil rights leaders to lobby Biden on everything from personnel to executive action to legislation. Many of those in the meeting urged Biden to be aggressive in his use of executive power.
I want to ask that you consider issuing an executive order to create a national task force to examine challenges to our democracy, a national voter access commission.
It's going to be important, for example, that one of your first actions is...
Now, she just asked for a task force. You understand what I'm saying? To deal with all of this voter stuff and all of that. That's all she asked for. A task force. But did she get it? No. But the illegal immigrants got a task force to figure out how to reunite all these illegal children over here. They got one. The Asian Americans, Pacific Islanders got a task force by executive order. But did we get one? No.
Is a reversal of the executive order that President Trump promulgated that essentially seeks to gag conversations about diversity, race, and history among anyone who contracts with the federal government. And so we would ask you to lend your voice and your strength and your influence and your power and your ability to reach across the aisle to try and pass the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. But failing that, we would ask you to pull from that act measures that can be enacted by executive order. You have the power to call for a national database on police misconduct. You have the power to ask for a registry that will allow people to easily search in public multiple misconduct complaints against particular officers. You have the ability to impose a database around police killings and police shootings. And these are things that you can do by executive order. There is a prison tragedy that is unfolding because of COVID. I encourage you to use your power to order an investigation of state and local prisons and jails to find out precisely what is happening, and you have that power.
I have executive authority. I will use it not within the constitutional authority. I am not going to violate the Constitution. There is a Constitution. It's our only hope. Our only hope. And the way to deal with it is where I have executive authority, I will use it to undo every single damn thing this guy has done by executive authority. But I'm not going to exercise executive authority where it's questioned, where I can come along and say, I can do away with assault weapons. There's no executive authority to do away with that. And no one's fought harder to get rid of assault weapons than me. Me. But you can't do it by executive order. If you do that, next guy comes along and says, well, guess what? By executive order, I'm going to say everybody can own machine guns again. So we got to be careful. I know you all know this. I know you know.
So there it is. There it is. All of these executive orders to do with other groups, LGBT, white women, transgender women, Asian Americans, Pacific Islanders, illegal immigrants, illegal immigrant children, but not one that concerns any black issue. Not one that was mentioned by any of those black people on that call with him that day when they talked about what he had the power to do with with an executive order. Not one. And now he's added 3 more to that long list of executive orders that he's already done. Now he's added 3 more. But out of all of that, what is it now? 45, 50 executive orders, memorandums, directives, or whatever. Out of all of that, not one specific to a black agenda. Not one specific to foundational black Americans and our issues. Not one. So I just wanted to let y'all know what Joe Biden had going on. And I just wanted to remind y'all what Joe Biden himself said back in December, around December the 9th, December the 10th, somewhere along in there, just a month and a half ago, almost 2 months ago, what Joe Biden himself said about all of these executive orders. And how when it came to black issues and issues that affect the black community, he's not going to touch the Constitution. He's not going to step on the Constitution. There is a Constitution that has to be considered. The same Constitution that they use to say that because of certain laws, you can't do anything specifically for any specific group of people, but yet we have all of these specific groups of people getting executive orders and we ain't getting none. Period. So just to remind the Joe Biden, Kamala Harris voters and supporters of what your president said back in December and what your president is doing now for other groups of people. And he's doing it boldly in your face. Because that's a show of total disrespect to not even speak on what happened to that little black girl in Rochester. But you're going to sit down and you're going to sign an executive order for illegal kids that are not being brutalized. They're not being pepper sprayed. They're not being slammed down on the ground and arrested and handcuffed. They're not being treated like criminals, although they are criminals. By default, they're criminals. But it was a total show of, I don't give a damn what's going on with y'all, to actually sit in the Oval Office and sign executive orders concerning non-citizen children while you got children that are citizens here being treated like that by police officers. And yes, there will be a link to this so that you can hear the whole entire, I think you can hear the whole call. I'm not sure. I know on YouTube, they have finally put up the whole hour plus Zoom call. You understand what I'm saying? I may add that link, I may not. But you can find that on YouTube. But I will add this article right here from The Intercept. Okay? Now, let's move on, because there's some developments and some stuff going on in Rochester continuing that needs to be talked about. Now, this article is coming again from Spectrum News out of Rochester. February the 2nd, 2021. Former Rochester Police Department chief to testify live on social media on city's handling of Prude case. Now remember, Daniel Prude was the black guy that was naked. They claimed he was acting erratic or whatever. They got him, they handcuffed him, and they held him, his face down to the ground with a skin hoodie over his head for like 2 minutes, and he died a week later from suffocation. Okay? That's who Daniel Prude was. And it took 6 months for any police body cam footage or anything like that to come out about this episode, and everybody just got up in arms about it. And the only person that ended up being fired behind it or having any kind of action against them behind it was the actual black police chief. Okay? Rochester. Former Rochester Police Chief LaRon Singletary will give live testimony on social media as part of the Rochester City Council's independent investigation into the city's handling of the Daniel Prude case. He'll talk to the investigation committee Friday at 9:30 a.m. Council appointed its own investigator to look into how City Hall handled Prude's death while in police custody last March, and why it did not come to light until 6 months later. Singletary and several high-level staff at the police department announced their retirements as part of the fallout, but Mayor Warren relieved him of his duties before his planned departure. So she fired him, and I think her firing him affected him getting his pension and all of the stuff that he was supposed to get. You understand what I'm saying? As being retired and all of that. He was the only one that was fired, you understand? Yeah, the black police chief was the only one that was fired. But now this is the same Mayor Lovely Warren that just told us yesterday in the video that we did yesterday, and let me recall her words for you. This is the article where it talked about one of the officers being suspended and 2 others being placed on administrative leave. This is lovely. This is Mayor Warren talking Monday. What happened Friday was simply horrible and has rightly outraged all of our community, Mayor Warren said Monday. Unfortunately, state law and union contract prevents me from taking more immediate and serious action. So when it comes to these police officers, supposedly because of the law and the contracts with the police union, she can't fire them. She can't take more immediate and serious action when it comes to them. But when it came to this black police chief who wasn't even on the scene when Daniel Prude was brutalized, she can fire him. Well, where was the police union to support him? He's a police officer. Where was the police union to support him? Where was the union contract to protect him from being fired? While the police officers who actually were there on the scene and participated in this crime, they still got their jobs and still walking around free. Let's continue. The former chief has filed a notion of claim announcing he intends to sue the city and the mayor. Singletary says the mayor pressured him to lie about what he allegedly told her in March right after Prude's death. You can watch Singletary's testimony live in its entirety on Spectrum News and the Spectrum News app. Okay? Now let's go even a little bit deeper into that. Now, this is all right, y'all. Hold on. I gotta find it. I must have messed around and closed it by mistake. Hold on, let me find it, because there's another article that goes even deeper into it. So hold on a minute. All right, here it is. Now, this is coming from RochesterFirst.com. RochesterFirst.com. Daniel Prude. And this was yesterday, 9:22 a.m., updated February the 2nd at 7:40 p.m. Former Rochester Police Department Chief LaRon Singletary to testify Friday in Daniel Prude death investigation. Former Rochester Police Chief LaRon Singletary is scheduled to participate in a live-streamed public deposition with City Council Friday at 9:30 a.m. Singletary's testimony will be to the Independent Investigation Committee and in regards to the Council's investigation into the Rochester Police Department's handling of Derek Prude's death. A New York State Attorney General's investigation into the matter remains ongoing. The deposition will be live streamed on Rochester.com as well as City Council's Facebook and YouTube pages. The deposition will be presided over by council members Michael Patterson and Malik Evans, who is running for mayor. Singletary was fired by Rochester Mayor Lovely Warren in September after details of Prude's March death following an encounter with Rochester police first became public. Previous reports indicated Singletary was not cooperating with investigations into Prude's death. Singletary has since filed a notice of claim against the city of Rochester. In a one-on-one interview with News 8 anchor Adam Chodak, Rochester Mayor Lovely Warren said she was kept in the dark regarding Prude's death, adding that the RPD's handling of the incident was clear deception and done purposefully. Okay, well, if it's clear deception and it was done purposely, then okay, yeah, fire the chief. But while you firing him, make sure that you get rid of and look at charging the actual officers that were involved in this. Prude, a 41-year-old black man from Chicago, died after an encounter with Rochester police back in March. But news of the incidents just came to light on September the 2nd. Police warned body camera footage of the incident showed officers restraining a handcuffed Prude. So see, they like to wait till they get you handcuffed. And then when they handcuff you, they start the brutalizing. They start the terrorizing. They start the torture. Who was naked with a split hood over his head before he ultimately went unconscious. The autopsy report from the Monroe County Medical Examiner's Office ruled the death of Prude as a homicide. The report said Prude's cause of death includes complications of asphyxia in the setting of physical restraint. The report also showed that Prude also had a small amount of PCP in his system at the time of the encounter with the police, which could explain his erratic behavior. Now, you know, when it's a black person, it's always going to be some drugs thrown in the mix somewhere. It's always going to be some drugs thrown in the mix somewhere when you're dealing with somebody black. But the coroner, the medical examiner, clearly ruled the death or homicide, and the homicide was caused by complications of asphyxia. The man was suffocated. He was smothered to death in the setting of physical restraint. A federal lawsuit filed from the Prude family against the city of Rochester alleges there was an internal cover-up. The New York State Attorney General's office, this is the Letitia James chick again, continues to investigate the incident. And an independent investigation initiated by Rochester City Council continues to see if there was indeed a cover-up. That investigation is looking into City Hall, the Rochester Police Department, and the City Council itself. Aside from Singletary, several other high-ranking members within the RPD's command staff have also announced retirements in a major leadership shakeup for the city's police department. Yeah, but wasn't none of them fired. So they'll all get their full benefits, their full pensions, the whole 9 yards. The only person in this whole incident that was fired and has to deal with any form of punishment or any kind of repercussions or whatever was the police chief, who wasn't even on the scene at the time. Protests sparked following the news of Prude's death in the city of Rochester throughout the month of September. Some demonstrators saw violent clashes between protesters and police. I also read somewhere that all the police officers that were involved have been cleared of any wrongdoing. You know, that's by that internal investigation where the police investigate themselves, and then after they have investigated themselves, they come back with the determination that they didn't do anything wrong. Okay? Now, so it's going to be interesting to see what Singletary has to say. It's going to be interesting to see what he has to say about Mayor Lovely Warren. And it's going to be interesting to see what he has to say about this whole entire case and who was actually involved, how much he actually knew, how much Mayor Lovely Warren actually knew, and that whole 9 yards. So again, it's going to be on Spectrum News. It's going to be on RochesterFirst.com. It's going to be on... what did they say? Let's go back up here. On their YouTubes. It's going to be on the Rochester City Council's Facebook and YouTube pages. Okay? Now, here's another little tidbit. Former Rochester Police Department Chief, I repeatedly refused to lie for Mayor Warren in Daniel Pruitt death investigation. Now, this was on December the 16th, 2020. Former Rochester Police Chief LaRon Singletary claims Rochester Mayor Lovely Warren asked him to lie to City Council about the death of Daniel Pruitt. Mayor Warren asked me to withhold full and truthful information from the City Council investigation into the matter of Daniel Pruitt, Singletary said in a notice of claim made public Wednesday night. Mayor Warren asked me instead to provide false information to support the mayor's public narrative concerning her knowledge of the events in the matter of Daniel Pruitt. I repeatedly refused to lie for Mayor Warren. Pressure to support Mayor Warren's narrative also came from other city officials. Singletary filed a notice of claim against the city on December the 3rd, which was mentioned in a Rochester Office of Police Integrity report Tuesday that cleared some city employees of any wrongdoing in regards to Pruitt's death. So he's claiming that she was trying to get him to lie to the city council and trying to get him to provide false information to the city council about what she knew and all of this kind of stuff, and he refused to do it. So maybe that's the reason why he was fired. But we'll have to wait and see how this live deposition goes if he actually gets a chance to do it. Because, shit happens. But hopefully he'll get a chance to do it. And you can see it on, like I said, you can see it on Spectrum News. You can see it on the Spectrum News app. You can see it on RochesterFirst.com. You can see it on the Rochester City Council's Facebook page and YouTube page. So it's going to be real interesting to see how that pans out. And there's one more thing going on in Rochester that I think is real important. And this also comes from Spectrum News. Yesterday, February the 2nd, 2020. Rochester group advocates for a Nyla's law would prevent children from being handcuffed, pepper sprayed. Community Justice Initiative held a press conference Tuesday afternoon announcing Nyla's law. So I'm assuming that was this little 9-year-old girl's name, Nyla. It's N-A-I-L-A-H. I'm assuming that's her name. Because, they have not identified her. Neither have they identified any of the police officers that were involved. You understand what I'm saying? But we can see their pictures because their faces are on Facebook. I mean, on the internet and in different videos and all that. If I'm not mistaken, I think I have a video. I have a picture of that whole slew of police officers that were around this police car in one of my videos. Okay? But I'm thinking that because they have named this law after it, I'm assuming that that's that child's first name, right? And Nala is of course a black counter-African name, right? But anyway, let's keep going. If passed, it will prevent law enforcement from putting handcuffs on children as well as pepper spraying them. It would also require officers to ask the suspect's child care situation, allowing them the opportunity to find proper care for their child. Lastly, the city and county would develop a list of mental health professionals who would assist children after traumatic experiences involving police. That was an egregious act. That was savagery. Not one person had humanity. Not one person had heart on the scene. Now that has to stop. It stops now with us, now in our city, like my brother said. We have to start home and then marginalize on a larger level, said Naya Shabazz of Rochester. Community Justice Initiative says they're pushing on City Council to pick up the proposal. And there's a video linked with this article. As with most of these articles, there's a video linked. There's a video linked with this article, and it shows 3 black women and a black man. So just like I said in the last video, you understand what I'm saying? We didn't need mainstream media or any media outlet or whatever to report and tell us the race of this child. We already knew the race of the child just based on how the child was being treated. We already knew she was black. And the name and these black advocates that are in this video confirm that this was a black child. But then like I said, we already knew that. So they're pushing for City Council to pick up this proposal for Nyla's law. Now, is that enough? Of course not, because that's not punishment for the police. Just like we got the Breonna Taylor law, we got the George Floyd law, we got all of that, and ain't none of that stopped none of the police brutality. You understand what I'm saying? But at least they're doing something. At least they're trying to be proactive. But that's it, y'all. That's all I got for right now. Just wanted to update y'all on what old Jim Crow Joe is doing, and make sure you understood the in-your-face disrespect and disdain and the I just don't give a fuck attitude when just Friday this black child was brutalized by the police, and he gonna turn around on Tuesday and sit behind the desk in the Oval Office and sign executive orders for illegal children while black children are being treated like this. I just wanted to remind you of what old Joe had to say back in December about, using executive orders and using the executive power and not wanting to overstep the Constitution and always having to be aware of the Constitution when it comes to the authority of the executive order. That's what he said to all of these black folks that were talking about executive orders and executive power. You understand what I'm saying? To deal with some of these black issues. But we see since January the 20th, he been on an executive order signing spree. But none of them have had anything to do with any issues that impact the foundation of Black American or the Black American community as a whole. He ain't worried about the Constitution when he was signing none of them executive orders for them other specific groups to have specific protections and specific benefits, tangibles. He wasn't concerned about the Constitution. And he wasn't concerned about whether the next guy would come along and say, oh, well, since that was done through an executive order, I'll just turn around and undo it through an executive order. Anybody can do that. Anybody can do that. But that's how you black folks who voted for them and supported them were tricked and fooled and then stabbed in the back. See, what you're seeing now is how it looks to have a knife in your, well, several knives in your back. And I want y'all to remember, put it on your calendars or whatever. Remember that this coming Friday at 9:30 a.m., the former Rochester Police Chief, LaRon Singletary, will be deposed by the Rochester City Council. And it's gonna be live streamed. It's gonna be on Facebook. It's gonna be on YouTube. It's gonna be on Spectrum News. It's gonna be on RochesterFirst.com. And it's gonna be real interesting to hear what he has to say about this whole thing, as far as Lovely Warren trying to get him to lie for her, and what they knew when they knew it, and why he was really fired, and the whole 9 yards. Because if that's the truth, and right now it's alleged, we don't know, but if that's the truth, that she was trying to get him to lie for her to the city council and he refused to do it, then that could also be part of the reason why he's the only person that ended up with any form of punishment. And he wasn't even on the scene. He was not even one of the police officers that participated in the brutalizing and the murder of Daniel Prude. So that's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to watch that. And if I'm not at work, if I don't have to work, I'm going to make sure to watch that, because it's going to be real interesting to hear what he has to say. But I would like for y'all to like this video. Please like this video. Give it a thumbs up. I forgot yesterday to put the link to Healthlight's channel in the description box, but I have added it to the last video, and I will add it to this video, because I want y'all to make sure that y'all get over there, because she's talking about skin. She's talking about how you protect your skin, how you protect your hair. I mean, she's just talking about all of it. And her name is Dr. Singh. I think it's SINGH, and she's talking about all of it. So you definitely need to go over there, subscribe to her channel, and listen to her videos, okay? But I will add that link again to this video, because I forgot to add it to the last video. I went in and I did that, but I want to give you another opportunity in this video to click on it and go subscribe to that channel. Y'all, please share this video. Please have these conversations. Like I say, have these conversations on social media, off social media. Have these conversations with your family, your friends, your co-workers. Have these conversations. Know what's going on. Everybody needs to be informed. Because before you can make any kind of intelligent decision, you have to be correctly informed of what's going on. And you have to talk to people, and you have to listen to people, and you have to have conversations with people that can kind of predict or you know, kind of see the direction that the thing is going in. You understand what I'm saying? That helps out a whole lot. So please share, have these conversations. Get down in that description box. Please subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. Comment, let me know what you're thinking. Like I said, if there's anything specific that you want me to talk about, if there's a story out there that you want me to do a little bit of research on and do a video about, then get that in the comments, or like I said, the Gmail for the channel is also in the description box. Hit me up and let me know if it's something that you specifically want me to talk about or whatever. Hit that bell notification so you can be notified when we upload videos. And yeah, y'all, that's all I got for you right now. But that's enough. That's enough to digest for right now. That's enough to digest for right now. And again, don't let any of this stuff don't let it be a distraction. Yes, we need to know what's going on. We need to at all times know what's going on around us. But we also need to know how to filter. And know what needs our immediate attention, and know what we can put on the back burner. Now, this actually might need our immediate attention, because it's going to be real interesting to see what this black man has to say if this black man is allowed to testify. So, you know, let's send up some prayers to the ancestors to keep him safe so he can go in there, and if he's going to tell the truth, so that he can tell the truth and so that the truth can come out. But again, you got to understand, the reason why the race soldiers do what they do is because they know they are going to get away with it. Because they know that they are a creation of white supremacy. They know white supremacy is not going to punish them. They know white supremacy is not going to do them any harm. Why? Because like I said yesterday, after 316, 17 years, they still doing the exact same thing that white supremacy created them to do. And again, a house divided against itself cannot stand. So if white supremacy, that is the house, and it's the house that created law enforcement, if it starts fighting with law enforcement and starts punishing law enforcement for doing what it created law enforcement to do, then that's a house that's fighting against itself, and it won't be able to stand. And that's a little bit of what we saw happening up there January the 6th in the Capitol. We saw the house divided against itself. We actually saw white supremacy harming police officers. So that's what lets you know that white supremacy is kind of on shaky legs. Because you actually saw white supremacy attacking itself. So just remember that. Just remember that a house divided against itself cannot stand. That's just like a husband and a wife. They live together. They have developed and established a home. When they start fighting amongst themselves and can't get along and can't agree on nothing, you understand what I'm saying? That house is not going to last long. If they don't hurry up and work that out, if they don't hurry up and come to some kind of agreement, if they don't hurry up and smooth the waters or whatever, that house is not going to stand. Because a house divided against itself cannot stand. That's how you know that all of this so-called argument between the left wing of white supremacy and the right wing of white supremacy is just a bunch of political theater. It's just a bunch of show. Because there's no way that this white supremacist system could have lasted as long as it did if they really can't stand each other. And if they're really working against each other. If they're really at odds with each other. No. They all subscribe to white supremacy. They are all a part of this white supremacist system. Every once in a while, they have a little power struggle. Who gonna be in charge of white supremacy? Who gonna be in charge of making sure that the one group of people that supports white supremacy more than anything else, and that's black folks, who gonna be controlling them? And I hope y'all took the time to listen to Dr. Amos Wilson and the link that I put up to the video that he did, because it was so enlightening, and it was almost like listening to him talk today. It was almost like a speech we just went and listened to him give last night. That's how relevant what he was saying all those years ago is to what we're still dealing with now. Why? Because white supremacists still using the same playbook on us. Ain't nothing changed. Ain't nothing changed. Still the same playbook, and we still falling for it. So y'all get down in the comments, talk to me, let me know what you want to hear, let me know what you want to see, let me know if there's anything specific you want to talk about. Get the likes up, and subscribe to the channel. Please share, please have these conversations, and get down in that description box and read these articles. Like I said, search other articles. You understand what I'm saying? Because other articles may be coming from another perspective or whatever, but just know, shit is real. Shit is real. And we got 4 years of it getting even more and more real with Biden. Okay? So let's stay on our P's and Q's. Let's keep our head on swivel. Black women, do not get comfortable. Do not believe the bullshit and the hype coming from over there on the left about how much they support black women, how much they love black women, how much they think of black women. All of this uplifting and phony praise of black women. And they see what's happening to black women in the street, and ain't nobody doing nothing about it. Ain't nobody saying nothing about it. Ain't no executive orders being signed about it. Your sister girl, vice president, ain't opened up her mouth about it. Well, it's funny, they making her keep her mouth shut, period. They ain't letting her say nothing. I have not heard a word from Kamala. So black women, don't fall for the bullshit. Keep your head on swivel. And realize that because of all of that phony praise and all of that phony lifting you up and phony acting like you had done so much and you just the backbone of all this and the backbone of all that, understand an extra big target has been put on your back. So don't be surprised if we see more and more and more of these attacks against black females. So that's all I got for y'all today. Y'all stay smart. Stay safe, be well, and please stay on code. Have a good night.